Welcome back to Off the Record. I'm Carson Carpenter, and we're diving into a story that's been simmering out west, one that the mainstream media seems awfully quiet about. It's the story of California's governor, Gavin Newsom, a man whose ambition knows no bounds, whose scandals pile up like rush hour traffic on the 101, and whose governing record, well, let's just say it's a cautionary tale for anyone dreaming of a Newsom presidency.
In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason.
Now you've probably seen him. Slicked hair, polished shoots, that Hollywood smile. He's got the look of a man who's always one step away from a movie deal or maybe even the Oval Office. The Democrats have been whispering his name as a 2028 contender, a backup plan if their current roster falters. But before we start carving his name on any ballots, let's take a hard look at who Gavin Newsom really is. His life, his scandals, and his failures. They tell us everything that we need to know about why this man is not the leader America needs. Let's start with his personal life, because character matters in politics. Back in 2007, when Newsom was a mayor of San Francisco, he admitted to an affair with Ruby Rippy Tork, his appointment secretary. And did I mention she was married to his campaign manager and close friend, Alex Tork? And that's right, this wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It was a betrayal of trust at the highest levels of his inner circle. Newsom called it a profound lapse and apologized and just moved on. But it was embarrassing, and it was done in a public way for his apology, and you can still find the clip to this day. And as one political analyst put it, this kind of baggage doesn't play well outside of liberal San Francisco, where voters might forgive a lot, but not everything. And that's not the only chapter in Newsom's colorful personal saga. Before the affair, he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle. Yes, that Kimberly Guilfoyle, who was engaged to Donald Trump Jr. Their divorce in 2006 was messy at best. And while Newsom was navigating that, he dated a string of eyebrow-raising partners, even a Scientologist, a reality TV star, and even a teenager. And now look, I'm not here to play morality police, but when you're eyeing the presidency, your personal choices will get spotlighted. And Newsom's choices, they paint a picture of a man who thrives on chaos and not stability. Let's move on from the tabloids to the governor's mansion, because that's where the real story unfolds. Newsom's been running California since 2019, and if you want to know what a Newsom presidency might look like, and just look at the Golden State, spoiler alert, it's not so golden anymore. First, there's the homelessness crisis. California is about 12% of the US population, but a staggering 1/3 of the nation's homelessness. And from 2007 to 2022, while homelessness dropped 10% nationwide, it skyrocketed in California by 31.6%. Newsom's thrown $24 billion at the problem since 2018. And what's the result? More tents, more encampments, and more despair in his state than ever before. Half of America's unsheltered homeless live in California, and Newsom's approach of housing first, which assumes a roof solves addiction and mental health crises, has flopped spectacularly. If he can't fix his state in 6 years as governor, why should we trust him with the presidency? And then there's crime in his state. Newsom championed Proposition 47 and Proposition 57, which reduced penalties for certain crimes and let felons out early. Felons first, not American citizens, was his motto. The result? California's crime rate spiked 13% in 2022, while nationwide crime rates dropped. He's doubled down, resisting reforms to empower law enforcement, leaving Californians to deal with a smash and grab robbery epidemic and a sense that the streets aren't safe anymore. You tell me, does that sound like a man ready to lead a nation? I don't think so. And don't get me started on the economy in California. California's cost of living is the highest in the country. I think that's something we all know. Middle-class families face an extra $26,000 a year just to get by compared to most places in the United States. And gas taxes are set to hit $2 per gallon by 2026. In some states, that's how much gas costs right now. Businesses are fleeing like Tesla, Oracle, and many others like X, but chased out by high taxes and regulations. And the state's debt, some estimates put it at a $2 trillion mark when you factor in unfunded liabilities. This is the guy who wants to manage the federal government and the federal budget. Congress can't even do that right now correctly. Oh, and let's not forget energy in his state. Newsom's Green New Deal policy shut down nuclear and natural gas plants, leaning hard into solar and wind. It sounds noble to a leftist, except Californians now pay the highest energy rates in the nation, and the state imports 30% of its energy because it can't even produce enough. Rolling blackouts, sky-high bills, and a strained grid. That's what Newsom has left for California. And good luck running America's energy policy like that in the greatest nation on earth that provides the most energy per capita. And now you might say, okay, governing's tough, and nobody's perfect. And that's pretty fair enough because we see a lot of governors fail in their states. But Newsom's scandals show a pattern of hypocrisy and elitism that's hard to ignore. Take the French laundry scandal in 2020. While Californians were locked down and told not to gather, Newsom wined and dined at one of his state's priciest restaurants with his lobbyist and all his friends, and maskless most importantly, breaking his own COVID rules. He called it a bad mistake, but the damage was done. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's Newsom in a nutshell. Or how about the unemployment fraud scandal during the pandemic? California's Employment Development Department paid out $400 million to prisoners, including death row inmates. And then due to the rampant fraud, some estimates say the total fraud could hit $1 billion. And Newsom's response? Just form a task force and everything will be okay. Meanwhile, honest Californians waited months for their benefits. And the leadership, it's more like negligence in California. And then there's the high-speed rail fiasco. Newsom inherited this boondoggle, but he's kept it on life support despite costs ballooning to $100 billion. That's 5 times what it would cost to solve the homeless epidemic in his state. And no finish line in sight either. In 2019, he admitted it was a mess, but refused to pull the plug. If he can't say no to a train to nowhere, how's he going to tackle the national debt or any other problems when he's president? And let's be real, he doesn't care about the debt. Newsom's team argued that before the California Supreme Court that voters are too stupid to decide on tax hikes, blocking a taxpayer protection initiative. And that's right, he doesn't trust the people to govern themselves, and yet he wants to govern all of us. And look, I get it. Newsom's got some charm. He's got the media in his pocket, and he's got the California swagger to back it up. But governing isn't about photo ops or podcasts, which he always rails about. It's about results, and Newsom's results are rising homelessness, surging crime, and crushing costs. And a trail of scandals tell the story of a man who's in over his head and not as sophisticated as he paints himself to be. And California's a mess, and we've had years to fix it. So why on earth would we hand him the keys to the White House? And is Newsom someone who has a shot at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, or just another uber-liberal politician trying to latch on to a progressive wave that isn't even there? We saw the No Kings protests that had no effectiveness in our country, and won't in the future anyway, which by the way was bought and paid for by Walmart's Walton family. And we want to hear what you think about California, so please let us know. And stay sharp, stay skeptical, and always speak off the record.